next question then is for David. Unless there's any other comments, just jump right in. Dealing with open source, Coverity is a strong supporter of the open source market. Can you tell us what the kind of future trends in the use of open source? I know, there has been a lot of mention of Android. It's a very popular topic, but it's not the only open source solution out there. Maybe you can kind of give us, especially we have a lot of software developers here, what the open source market looks like for healthcare moving forward.
Sure. I think probably what I have to do to answer your question is to start by taking a step back and say that if you look at a lot of mentions of source code in government standards, you'll see that the terminology has changed from COTS, commercial off-the-shelf, to just OTS, off-the-shelf, because they've realized that when you're consuming software from a third party, whether you're paying for it by handing over money or whether you're paying for it by spending time to incorporate it, and the software itself happens to be not have a price tag associated, it ends up that you have to treat it the same way. Anything that you incorporate into your device, you are going to end up being responsible for it when you ship it to your customers. And so you need to examine it just as thoroughly. And so I think where the answer to your question comes in is that when I look at the other answers from the panel to the question so far, some of the technologies that I've heard mentioned have been Wi-Fi, wireless, Bluetooth, SMS, mobile phones, storage, internet, algorithms, USB, integrating functions, multi-core, glucose monitor, integrated with titration, iTunes. And each one of these things adds complexity to a system. If we were to start talking about really simple systems like a light switch, everyone's pretty familiar with that. When you take a look at some of the latest Intel processors, the number of microscopic electronic switches that are in those processors are more comparable to the number of light switches in the entire United States. And those switches change at a frequency of billions of times a second. And every time we add one of these technologies to a system that we're implementing, we have all kinds of additional complexity that we have to deal with. And that opens up the security issues that people like Intel are concerned about and have to address. And so when it comes to incorporating any software, when you start to build a device that has Wi-Fi or USB or Bluetooth in it, you need software to drive those communication functions. And as a medical device manufacturer, that's probably not your area of expertise. You're going to depend on somebody else who's developed protocol stacks that implement those functionalities for you, whether it comes from open source or whether it comes from a third party that you pay for source code or binaries to use in your device. And so all of that complexity is something that you want to apply the best technology that you can get to helping you manage that and to help you do code inspection on an ongoing basis. And that's where Coverity focuses, is building tools that help people manage those large software systems.
Are there any challenges with using open source software versus using a more proprietary software solution?
So there are different challenges. Often they come down to the political arena. From a technical point of view, you often have advantages in dealing with open source because you have access to the source code, and if you want to hire a consulting agency, they can do anything to the source code that the original authors could, given the time and the money to focus the efforts. The difference is that when you deal with a commercial organization, sometimes you don't get that. But at the political level, you have people who say, we have a commercial organization that we can lay the blame on if something goes wrong. And a lot of open source software that you get will explicitly say in the license, there's no warranty express or implied associated with this. And so that's something that, when you take that in, you have to basically say, we're going to treat this as if we wrote it ourselves and we're responsible for it in the end.
Now, is a community developing around open source that is growing, or is it something that's already existing?
In medical, you mean specifically?
In medical specifically.
Yeah, there are a number of specific efforts in the medical arena, and it's starting from less of the device end and more the records management and patient care end of things. There are some specific initiatives where there are groups of projects, and they're working on getting acceptance from the medical community. And I think that that's going to take time, because anything that's new takes time.
Sure. Okay. Then kind of my next question then is actually for Bakul. Moving on to talk about a little bit about regulation. And I know that you had a chance to speak already yesterday. But we all want to have safe products. We want to have safe electronics that are working for us. And as these products become more mobile and connected using open source software, what role does the FDA have in kind of pushing technical innovation, and then not just the regulating part of it?
So I think you hit upon a couple of good points about keeping it safe. We all want medical device to be safe. I'd like to just add just a little nuance to it. As part of our mission is to keep these medical devices to be effective as well as safe at the same time. It's probably worth repeating that as part of our mission, FDA's mission is twofold: is to protect and to promote. So we have embarked on a journey started last year, where the center actually and the administration is actively pursuing promoting innovation through the FDA, and not just devices but other parts of the agencies as well. I'll give you a list of things that the center has been working on, and I can give you a couple of things that I've been personally involved with. The challenges that come with using off-the-shelf, using open source software are unique, and actually it's interesting enough that we are spending time and resources here to look at how we would go about doing this, and it all drives down to this delicate balance that we want to strive towards: is how do we promote innovation while protecting public health and protecting patients. And that's the bottom line. And we've been looking at various ways of sort of, can we do this with the upcoming technology? And that's part of one of my charters, is to actually figure out how to do this. As you probably have seen, I'm going to start off with the list of things that the center has been working on, and sort of give you an idea of how the problem is not completely solved, but we are actively looking into it. One of the things we're looking at is, as you probably have heard, is there is guidance on how mobile apps, which is more different than any other software written on a desktop or PC for diagnosing or treating or doing any other thing that medical devices would do in controlling or meeting the definition of a medical device. So having said that, we know for mobile apps, when the apps are pretty much available, free, developed by people in their dorms or in their garages, I think that's a different challenge, is how do we make sure that those apps that are used for life-saving situations are still maintaining the safety and effectiveness that we have standard, or we have come to an acceptance to a standard of where the U.S. population should be protected. So having said that, I'm just going to list a couple of things that we have sort of embarked on this journey for. Is last year we had the workshop with FCC and FDA in terms of identifying what regulatory clarities that we can provide as two separate agencies, sort of seeing that the convergence of wireless and medical devices are sort of heading in that direction. What can we do? And I think we embarked on the journey. I'm actually a liaison with FCC for FDA, representing FDA. One other thing we have done last year is looking at unmet medical needs